Thank you. Awesome. So career coach Don Strankowski, and I hope I'm not butchering your name, is presenting to us on 4 interview tips no one ever taught you until now. Donald is founder and president of Ascent Career and Life Strategies, which is a subsidiary of the company Ascent Search Partners, LLC. Ascent has been a leading provider of career and executive coaching, career outplacement services, high-impact corporate workshops, and recruiting services since 2001. And assists clients throughout the United States and internationally. Donald is the author of Amazon bestselling book, Get Hired: 10 Simple Steps for Winning the Job You Desire in Any Economy, New Strategies for a New Job Market, the forthcoming book, Take Back Your Future, and the audio program, Success is a Choice. He has been interviewed by multiple national and local news publications as a personal achievement, job search, and employment expert. He is currently a regular television guest on Denver Fox 31, Good Day, Colorado. Donald's experience ranges from startup organizations to Fortune 500 companies with esteemed positions held at America Online, Exodus Communications, American Greetings, Sears, and Service Metrics. That is quite an amazing bio there, Don. We're so excited to have you. I would love to pass on the ability for you to share slides if you would like to, but otherwise I'm just going to stop sharing my screen right now.
Okay, yeah, if you could give me screen sharing privileges here, I will fire up the PowerPoint.
Beautiful.
Well, thank you for that introduction. I could have given you like the 1-sentence introduction. I think you pulled that from our website, so that's all the time we have for today, but thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. No, thank you for that intro, and let me go ahead and get this. All right, everybody see that okay?
Yes.
Awesome. Thumbs up. All right. Can everybody hear me okay? Am I coming through loud and clear? I really enjoy presenting. It is my passion. It's really what just makes me feel alive and whole and fulfilled and everything else. And of course, COVID just kind of threw a whole wet blanket on that. I know it's slowly coming back, but my history with BoulderNet goes back quite a ways. I can't remember exactly when I first did a presentation for BoulderNet, but it was, I'm going to say in the early 2000s. I started my company back in 2001 when I was laid off from my last corporate position. Everybody remember the dot-com bubble? Just say aye if you do. And I know everybody's pretty much muted, so you can raise your hand. I've only got like 4 little squares here, but yeah, when I was laid off during 2001, during the dot-com bubble, and I sat in my backyard for 5 months with 2 Dobermans. I took a couple of breaks and I had a legal tablet and I thought, all right, what do I really want to do here? Do I really want to go to work for a different company, different logo, but the same situation? Or is it time just to really play to win here? And I'm not saying starting your own business is for everybody. And trust me, in the early years, they call it hockey stick growth for a reason. Everybody know what hockey stick growth is? Just say aye if you do. Hockey stick growth goes like this. You start a company and it goes, and then usually at like year 6 or 7, it goes like that. This part right here was like it was back in college, eating ramen noodles and clipping coupons and stuff like that. But I'll tell you what, now that I've been doing this 22 years later, absolutely no regret. So that's just my little Tony Robbins moment for you. Really think about what job is going to give you fulfillment. And I know sometimes I work with clients. It's like, hey, Don, I needed a job like yesterday. Okay. And you know what? We go to work on that job you needed yesterday, but I want you to keep one eye on the future and what's going to be bigger and what's going to be better and what's going to enable you to grow and stretch, because that's what's going to give you fulfillment. But today, I do want to talk about some interview tips. And this is kind of a compilation of my days interviewing for positions like I know we all have. In a prior life, I was a hiring manager at a number of the companies. And then, of course, as a corporate recruiter a little bit later, and then as a career coach for the last 22 years. So a lot of data points here. And so I'm going to tell you some things, and these are 4 tips. And I don't know if, some of you guys might have heard of these before, but a lot of people haven't. So we're going to talk about some avant-garde ideas, some out-of-the-box thinking to help you ace the interview and win the job. Because, you can do C+ work in an interview, and you can do A+ work on your resume and on your networking and job search plan. You can do A+ work and all that stuff. But if you do that C+ work in the interview, what's going to happen? Somebody else is going to get that job. So today, I want to give you some tips for really being that A+ rock star performer. And if you're with me, just say aye.
Aye.
One person is saying, I love it. I love it. I'm glad that I'm coming through loud and clear.
Just
Aye.
want me to unmuted.
I love it. All right. That's okay.
I'm muted.
Aye.
My home alarm system went off during the intro. That's why I kept looking this way. The home alarm system is a 90-pound Doberman Pinscher, and it barks if a leaf is moving in the backyard. So she loves to go off when I'm on Zoom calls here, but it's my sergeant at arms, if you will, for my business. All right, let's get into it. I know you're all anxious to get rolling here. Okay, let's get this out of the way first. And like I said, many decades of interview experience. These are the most common blunders, and there are some I can relate to definitely when I was doing interviews, and I'm sure there's some everybody else can relate to, but I'm just going to fire them off here for you. Number one, looking unprepared. When I was a corporate recruiter, Mr. Strankowski, can I have a piece of paper to write with? Do you have something for me to take notes with? No notebook, no resume, no planner, no job. That was my mantra when I was a corporate recruiter. Number two, underdressed. If you're a man, you don't have to wear a $2,000 Armani suit, but some people say, well, Don, I kind of case the place. And people are going to work in polo shirts or t-shirts and blue jeans. You can wear the uniform when you're part of the team. Always dress like the pros. I know all of you are. Rambling, stay on point. Don't let the interviewer reel you in. Not answering the question. Some people start out great, but then like a helium balloon, they kind of float away, and I have to reel them back in on point. Listen carefully and repeat it back if you're a little bit unclear as to what they're asking you. So if I understand you correctly, Mr. and Mrs. Interviewer, this is what you're asking me. Phrase it back in your own words if you're a little bit unsure to make sure your answer hits the mark. Being too humble. This could be number one. This one is really common, especially surprisingly with my executive clients, even those at the C-suite. When you're in an interview, this is your chance and your opportunity, and the expectation is you need to sell yourself, right? You're the product, you're the salesperson. The interviewer sitting across from you is the buyer. Your resume, it's kind of like your hard copy brochure, right? And LinkedIn is your website selling your product. This is a sales and marketing operation. The interview is your sales presentation. So you do need to effectively sell your product, which really boils down to understanding their needs and then playing connect the dots with your success stories and some of the good things you've done to satisfy, meet, and exceed those needs. Low energy or no passion. As you can tell, I'm a very low energy person, but I'm very, very passionate about what I do. I really believe in what I do. You certainly don't have to jump up and down about it or put on a cheerleader's outfit, but one of the most important things you can do in an interview, and it's a must do, is state why, W-H-Y. Why do you want to work for that organization? Yeah, I know you meet the needs. I know you meet the requirements. I know you'd probably do a fantastic job for that company, but as a corporate recruiter and a hiring manager, I want people who want to work for my organization. One person or a couple people, unmute your mic. Why is that so important to state why you want to work for an organization?
Because you want to be motivated. They want a motivated employee.
Excellent. Because motivated employees do what?
They perform.
Excellent. They just do a better job.
Motivated employees don't quit on you.
There you go.
They help the company succeed.
Yeah,
Exactly.
they're looking for their success, not your success.
People who want to work for a particular organization will just do a better job. And you know what? That'll come through in your presentation, your job interview, whether it's conscious or subconscious. If you like the company, if you can back them. And my catchphrase is, tell them how you can champion their cause. Why is their cause important? And you know what? You might have to dig a little bit. Maybe it's a company that makes crushed rock. Maybe it's a company that has another product that just isn't all that interesting, but it's your job when you go into that interview to find some nuggets, some things that you can really get behind and overtly state to them why their business is important and why you can champion their cause. And the last one here, not asking for the job. Remember, it's a sales call. You have to ask for the business. Anybody quickly, what does ABC stand for in the world of sales?
Always be closing.
Always be closing.
Always be closing, right? It doesn't mean asking for the job 40 times throughout the interview. It really means doing all the other things right. Dressing the part, being prepared, body language, posture. Are your answers neat, clean, and succinct? Are you asking good questions? Did you put together a business plan? Do you have other support material? Do you have solid references? All these things stack. So by the time you get to the end, the close should almost take care of itself, but you still have to ask for the job. All right, those are the blunders. Glad we got those out of the way. And I think everybody, as I mentioned, self-included, can certainly relate to one or maybe even a couple of these. All right. Tip number 1, assemble a PowerPoint presentation. For a job you don't even have yet, has anybody ever done this before? Put together some sort of a business plan, not that the company asked for, but you did it of your own volition. You put together a plan for that interview with the hiring manager. Anybody done that? Just say aye.
Aye.
Excellent, excellent. And just quickly, what kind of results did you get from that? Or what kind of feedback did you get from that from the hiring manager when you presented it?
They were impressed. It showed we were prepared, excited about the role.
Excellent. Somebody else, when you presented that
Positive.
proposal to them and it wasn't even asked for, what kind of a reaction did you get?
A positive in general, just knowing that you've actually thought more about the job beyond the interview.
Right, exactly. And you know what, from a hiring manager's perspective, that's what the performers do. They go up and above. And when people work with my organization at Ascend, I tell them, I said, you don't need me to click apply now on Indeed or LinkedIn or wherever. What I'm going to teach you are things 99.9% of the other job seekers are not doing. And that's what the solid employees do. When I was interviewing people, it's the people who went up and above. It's the people who did the extra work. It's the people who did the extra preparation that advanced and almost every single instance won that job. So I'm just going to go through some of the particulars on this strategy here. Number 1, you don't have to kill them with a 98 slide PowerPoint deck. 8 to 10 slides is fine. You can put it together however you want. These are just some rough guidelines that I would recommend. Cover slide, kind of like I had this morning. 2 slides. Number 1, what do you know about the industry? Okay, what do you know about the industry this company is in? And based on just doing some internet research, you can probably come up with some relevant nuggets. Number 2, the second, third slide, I guess, including the cover slide, would be, how does that company fit in to the industry? What are their key competitive advantages? What are some of the products that enable them to compete? And maybe what are some of their challenges? Who are some of the competitors? You need to convey to that hiring manager and that organization, you have a firm understanding of the industry and the space that company occupies within the industry. Now, I think we're up to slide 4 here, okay? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The next 5 slides, the top 5 job requirements. Each one of them gets a slide, 3 to 5 bullet points as to how you meet or exceed that requirement. We are going to make this blatantly crystal clear that you are a solid fit for the position. Slide 9, final recap slide, stating once again your why you can champion their cause, and kind of a recap on how your skills, experience, education meet or exceed those particular company needs. And then a thank you slide at the end. And I have a sample ready to go, and I don't want to keep flipping between PowerPoints here. When I'm done, I will share with you an actual PowerPoint presentation that one of our clients put together and won the job. So I'll share that with you if we have some time at the end. Present up your question 3. People often say, oh yeah, I'll put this together, I'll email it to them after. They're not going to look at it, okay? They're not going to look at it. you need to interject this. And here's how you do it. After the third question you're asked in a job interview, answer the question. And if Jerome, right below me here on Zoom, is going to be interviewing me, I would say, Jerome, based on my prior conversation with the corporate recruiter, based on my industry knowledge and your job description, I put together some creative ideas for meeting your key business needs. Could I have 90 seconds and share this with you? Now, if you're a hiring manager, how many people would say, fantastic, take 90 seconds and show us your plan? Just say aye.
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 Excellent,
Aye.
excellent. Okay, I'll assume that's almost everybody. Okay, we've never had a client get shut out on this. You're putting together a creative plan for helping the company meet or exceed the needs that they presently have. Fantastic strategy. Sounds like some of you are doing it. I recommend everybody does it the next time you have an interview with the hiring manager. All right, let's go ahead and move on. Tip number 2, assemble a professional portfolio, also known as a brag book. How many people have a professional portfolio? Early on, when I used to present, I would bring mine. And this is what it looked like when I was actually interviewing for positions. Okay, so it has page protectors, and it's got a lot of the good stuff that I've done in prior positions. Maybe things like good job emails, employee reviews, copies of proposals. Sometimes I would get emails from customers. One company I worked for had like a newsletter and I had a write-up. Obvious things like certificates and awards. As a hiring manager and recruiter, you basically have 2 pieces of information to go on. You have the resume, right? But I mean, what can we really confirm as fact or fiction on the resume? I could ask for your driver's license to make sure that you are the person on this resume. I could maybe call some former employers and make sure that you work there if they would give me that information and if they're still in business. I could call the registrar's office at your university and just confirm that you went to school there. Aside from that, all those bullet points in your resume, I kind of have to take your word for it. So that's piece of information number 1. Piece of information number 2, what you're telling me in the interview. You know, in job interviews and in life, some people can talk a really good game, get them in the game, they don't play so well. So now I've got 2 pieces of information here that could be a little bit flimsy to make my hiring decision. And my reputation, if I'm a recruiter or hiring manager, is going to pretty much rely on my hiring decisions. So what's going to help me increase my comfort level that you're going to do the job you're claiming you can do? Yeah, the PowerPoint presentation we talked about, and a professional portfolio of achievements and accomplishments. Now, it's not 2001 or 2 anymore, it's 2023. So what you can do with a lot of the information that I would have in this professional portfolio, I would scan it, I would create some sort of a PDF file, and I'm just going to go through this here real quick. The bottom bullet there, present after question number 4. So if I'm presenting that business plan after number 3, I'm going to answer the 4th question. And then after question number 4, I would say, Trent, could I take just 60 seconds and share with you a portfolio of achievements and accomplishments I think would be relevant to this position? And Trent would say what?
Sure. Please.
There we go. There we go. Right. And so you can't kill them with it like it's a family photo album, right? So even when I was interviewing for positions, I would put Post-it notes on maybe 3 or 4 of the pages. Interestingly enough, I had some employers say, oh, could I keep that? No, you cannot keep this because I may never get this back. So I would recommend having a hard copy and a soft copy. Contents can include anything you've done up and above what the job requires. It doesn't have to be awards, just any sort of evidence you have that you went up and above what the job entails. Good job emails, reviews, reports, proposals, assessment test results, awards, certifications. Quickly, anybody else have any other ideas for relevant brag book content, something that you think would be impactful?
Did you say client testimonials or something? I don't know if you said that already.
Okay, excellent. Client testimonials. I have in my brag book some letters, from back then when people actually wrote letters and mailed them. I even have some letters from, some, customers that I service in prior positions, but yeah, testimonials, that's huge. Okay. We have to move on in the spirit of time here, but professional portfolio, strongly recommend. And you know what? Some people say, hey, Don, fantastic idea. I didn't save anything. When I left positions, yippee, the papers were in the air and it was like the last day of school. I was out of there. Okay, that's fine. Just start now. Start now. I know you're all going to be doing fantastic things in your next position. So start now. Just accumulating things that if you needed to use it in an interview down the road, you could use it in some sort of a portfolio to help sell your product. All right. Tip number 3, connect the dots and back them with success stories. When we're working with clients, some of them get pretty discouraged when they want to apply to a job and the job description is like 3 or 4 pages. How many can relate? Just say I.
Aye.
There we go. I know a lot of us can, right? I don't know. Sometimes maybe they do that to, maybe discourage people a little bit. Hey, only the people who are really interested are going to apply if we put a 4-page job description out there. I don't know. But the good news is this. You don't have to meet every bullet on a 4-page job description or even a 1-page job description. How many people are familiar with the principle called Pareto's Law, also known as the 80-20 rule? Just say aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
right, one person
Aye.
here. I want the studious person in the group. The 80-20 rule, same thing as Pareto's Law, 80-20 rule. What is the 80 and what is the 20?
20% of your clients or the people that you're working with contribute 80% of the revenue usually.
That's really, is that Hosea?
Josiah.
Josiah. Excellent answer. You're spot on. If you look up Pareto's Law, it basically says in business or life, we get 80% of our results from the top 20% of our activities. So yes, for the average company, it's not going to be exactly 80 and 20, but they'll say we get the majority of revenues from this small handful of customers. Some people might challenge me and say, okay, Don, what about the 7-Eleven where people are coming in all day? My guess would be the 7-Eleven on the corner of Folsom and Valmont. You know what? 80% of their business probably comes from the 20% of the people that are driving by every single day and stopping in for coffee or granola bar or whatever it is. How does that apply to a job seeker? All right, got to put our thinking caps on here for a moment. If we have a job description, and in that job description, let's say there are 30 bullet points, and you look at it and you're like, oh man, they're looking for 30 of these things. All right, somebody do the math for me real quick. What is 20% of 30?
6.
Very
6.
good, very good. Well, that's a stumper for some people sometimes. All right, I know it's a little bit early at 6. That tells us that the top 6 requirements in the job description account for 80% of the results. The remaining 24 are 20%. So here's the good news. When you build your interview strategy, connect the dots with the top 6 bullets. Make sure you have some really good success stories ready to go to meet those particular requirements. Yeah, you might have to know some of the stuff down here, but you know what? Your bulk of your interview strategy should be around those top 6 bullets. This carries over, and I know we're not talking about resumes today, but I feel a little bit compelled to because it helps you get an interview. When you're all customizing your resume for every job you're applying to, like I know everybody on this call is, right? That's where you can pull the keywords, skills, and phrases from to work right into your resume. And they have to be exact terms from those top requirements. So when you build your interview strategy, top 4 to 6 requirements, use the 80-20 rule. Connect the dots, have a success story ready to go for each requirement. All right, somebody quickly here. You can meet 5 out of 6 of these top requirements, but there's one in there, man, I'm just not too sure. Well, if they ask me about this, I don't think I can draw a solid black line between that requirement and a success story. What do you do in that instance?
Maybe talk about how you would do something instead. Try to find something similar and be like, well, this is how I would approach doing this if I were in this situation instead, to show like your strategic thinking.
Excellent, Gina. Yeah, that's a great answer. If that situation were to come up, Here's how I would address it based on my prior experience. That's really good. Somebody have another answer?
In the startup community, we often talk about getting shots on goal, is that we're doing lead generation essentially. So some of the things that we do are really about having the opportunity for success.
Okay. All right. So you're going to say it's an opportunity for growth, opportunity for success, if that were to come up, and then probably offer up some sort of a solution. These are all really good answers. My recommendation, talk about something similar. Talk about something similar. If they're using some sort of a smaller off-brand CRM tool and you're a Salesforce person, but they ask you if you know Sugar or some of the other ones that are out there, talk about the fact that when I was hired at my last position, I needed to learn Salesforce from the ground up. And by the time I left that role, I was almost at expert level on Salesforce. Stephen, I would do the same thing for you. Name of CRM tool. I'll bring myself up to speed in an expedited manner, just like I did in my last organization, and I will be at the level you want me to within the first 30 days. So talk about something similar, but not identical if that's your experience, and tell them basically the ground is fertile for me to learn this. I'll bring myself up to speed in an expedited manner, just like I did at this particular company. Everybody with me on that? Just say aye. Good.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Excellent. This is big. This is big. If I had more time, I'd go into this. How long should your interview answers be? This is a subjective subject, if you will, right? Here's my rule of thumb. Green, yellow, red. 30, 45, 60. You can do a lot of talking in 30 seconds. Technically, that light is green up to 44. At 45 seconds, when you're speaking and answering an interview question, that light turns amber. Yeah, you can go through it. It's legal. You have to be cautious. You're still talking at 60 seconds. What is probably going to happen from the interviewer's perspective? Somebody can unmute their mic and just answer.
Lose interest.
There you go. There you go. Average television commercial on TV, how long?
30 seconds.
There we go. 30 seconds for a reason. Are people's attention spans going like this or like this these days? Come back next year and it's probably going to be,
Shortening. They're shortening.
It's going to be 20, 40, 50. And every year I'm just going to keep reducing it. Absolutely. Just make sure your answers don't go beyond 60 seconds. If you're talking and in your head, you feel like you're out of time, what do? There's a couple things I think are pretty effective, but somebody unmute their mic and tell me if you're talking and you think your answer is going on, what's one technique you can employ?
Maybe at a later time, I can tell you the full story.
Okay. All right. Anybody else?
Ask them a question. Would you like to hear more?
Okay. Okay. I like that. I like that. There are a number of ways to address this. You do have to address it. Okay. Because remember in the earlier blunder slide, you don't want that interviewer to keep reeling you in because your answers are long, because you do in practice what you do in the game. And to the interviewer, the interview is the practice. We're bringing you in, we're giving you a tryout, we're giving you a look, right? And all your behaviors from your preparation, all those things we talked about, they're overlaying on the job and they're saying, this is what we're signing up for. And a big one is, can you state your case? Can you communicate your point effectively with impact, but in as few words as possible? It's a business skill I think everybody needs to develop, or at least fine tune a little bit. Here are the two techniques I like to employ. Number one, bring the story to a close. I mean, they don't need to know maybe all the blow-by-blow action on the success story. So if you can, bring it to a close without being awkward about it, okay, do it. That would be technique number one. Technique number two, similar to, I think maybe what Steve mentioned. That is, if I'm answering an interview question, in my head, I'm thinking, I'm out of time. I would stop and I would say, hey, Steve, I know this answer is running on a little bit. I just want to cite one more example to validate my point. I know this answer is running on a little bit. I just want to cite one more example to validate my point. That way, you've communicated to the interviewer I know this is running on. I just want to make one more point. Remember, you do in practice what you do in the game. You do in the interview what you do on the job. Don't oversell. I was in sales for many, many years. I'm not proud to say, but there were some instances I had the deal. I had it closed, all right? And I just kept talking too much. And suddenly something I said, they backed, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, well, maybe we have to, all right, we need to think this over now. And I'm thinking, oh man, I practically had the ink ready to go on the contract and they pulled away from me because I just didn't stop when I made my case. The other thing you can do when you're answering interview questions with your success stories, periodically ask for confirmation. I wouldn't recommend doing it after every answer you give, but maybe in some of the more impactful questions. You're all pros. You're all pros. You probably know what it takes to be successful in the occupations you're pursuing and in the industries that you're targeting. You know what the biggest meatballs are going to be in the pasta when you're on that interview. For the impactful questions and your impactful answers, if Stephen is interviewing me once again, I might, when I'm finished, Stephen, did that answer your question? For the impactful ones, ask for confirmation. Stephen, did that answer your question? If it did, I'll give you the thumbs up. If not, probably say, hey, could you tell me a little bit more about this? Could you give me an example of that? And then, by the way, your clock starts again when you answer his question. So number 3, play connect the dots like we did when we were kids and back your answers with success stories. Everybody with me? Just say aye.
Go Pack, go.
Go,
Aye.
go. And this is like Cheesehead Central here, the Brewers and the Packers. All right. This is my favorite one. This is, I have a lot of clients that get nervous around interviews. I really do. And it's human nature. So if you get a little bit anxious or nervous before a job interview, congratulations. I think you should, because if you're not, that might not be such a good thing either. Nervousness and a little bit of anxiety is energy, okay? Just like fire. You can make a fire in the fireplace. Sometimes fires go crazy in the mountains too. It's still energy at the end of the day. What are you going to do with your energy? You have a little bit of nervous energy. It's game time, all right? Wow, I'm going to be on a Zoom call or in person with the hiring manager and their boss and the boss's boss. Well, I feel really nervous about this. Excellent. We are going to take that energy and we're going to bundle and package it to make it work for you, not against you. Okay. All right. Interview game day routine. We talked about this earlier, and I'm just such a big proponent of it. This is something a lot of our clients don't think enough about when we initially engage with them. And I think for the average job seeker, I'm just going to predict they don't do an adequate job of communicating why they want to work for the organization. Okay, so make sure you're researching the company and not just looking at their website or their mission statement. What's their secret sauce? How do they compete? What are their key competitive advantages? That's what we're looking for. Quickly, when a company wants to brag about something, they have late breaking news, they close the big deal, they're going into a new market. Where's the first place they go with that information these days? 2 words.
LinkedIn.
Good.
PR
LinkedIn is under a bigger umbrella known as what?
The internet.
Good.
Social media.
Social media.
Social media. Yeah. So before that interview, check their LinkedIn feed, check their Facebook, check their Twitter, check their YouTube, check their TikTok if they have one. Get the latest breaking news, and you can even formulate some questions around some of the things that you've learned. That's what the rock stars do. That's what the people who get hired do. And that's what the people who really want to work for a company do. So can't emphasize that first bullet point enough. All right. This is my favorite part of the whole presentation, what I'm going to teach you here. All right. All right. This is something I played a lot of sports growing up, high school and college. And as a public speaker, yeah, sometimes you're speaking to some larger crowds, and in the intro, which was way longer than 60 seconds. I apologize. I could have given the little short Cliff's Notes version, but before I would go on TV for Fox 31 Good Day Colorado. Now it's all like this, but you show up to the studio, that's live TV. You mess up, everybody's going to know about it, right? So that can make you a little bit nervous. These are things I always used to do, and I know they're going to help. Number one, yes, eat a bowl of oatmeal 90 minutes before your interview. What the heck is he talking about? Why should I have oatmeal 90 minutes before my interview? Somebody answer the question. Why oatmeal 90 minutes before the interview?
So your stomach's not growling in the middle of the
fuel
interview.
for the brain.
Fuel for the brain. Your stomach isn't growling. I like that one. I'm sorry. Did you say something? No, that was just my stomach growling. Oh, you should have eaten some oatmeal like Don told you to. You're right. Somebody said fuel for the brain. These are what are called, I'm a biology major in Wisconsin, so I promise I'm not going to go total biology wonk on you here, but these are what are called complex carbohydrates, okay? They burn slowly and they give you fuel. It's like solid rocket fuel, right? You want to eat it 90 minutes before so it digests and it gets into your system and it gives you that fuel, because when you get a little bit nervous, when you get a little bit anxious, it's kind of like driving your car in first gear. It's going to move, but it's burning a lot of gas and the RPMs are way up. You need that fuel to keep going. Everybody with me? Just say aye.
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 Excellent.
Aye.
Number two, have some caffeine 60 and 30 minutes before. Some people aren't caffeine people, and that's fine. You can get by with the oatmeal. But if you are a caffeine person, I would say, and operative word here, some caffeine 60 and 30 minutes before. Why?
Keep
It
your
raises
energy
your
up.
Awareness.
Energy. Okay. Anybody else?
Increases your awareness.
Very good. It's scientifically proven to boost your cognitive performance. That's the science. Scientifically proven to boost your cognitive performance. Too little, you may not have the effect. What happens if you take too much? I'll give you a hint. It's a central nervous system stimulant. What will happen?
Appear way too
Jittery, tense.
You're
If you were
nervous.
if you were anxious before the interview and you have too much caffeine, yeah, you're going to come across as very nervous, very anxious. That's why I said some. No, just know your sweet spot, right? Just know about, what you need to engage cognitively on that interview without overdoing it or underdoing it. And the third one is my favorite. I kind of think I heard somebody talk about this earlier in the call before I started my presentation. They were talking about the soundtrack of their life or something like that, to that effect. You play your walk-up song 10 minutes before that interview. What is a walk-up song? And this is a hint right here, not the team, but the hat. What is a walk-up song? How many people have gone to a Colorado Rockies or a Brewers game for that matter? What is a walk-up song?
It's the music that's played when the next pitcher comes in.
Okay, that's for the pitcher. If
Or
you
the
go to a-
batter.
There we go. If you go to a Rockies game, before every single time, before one of the Rockies comes to the plate, okay, they blast music for like 10 to 15 seconds. The players pick that music, okay? And it's designed to get them in state, get them fired up. They're facing a really good pitcher. They get that little blurb of their favorite song and they are ready to perform. Why couldn't it work for you? It can work for you. I always like to hear what people's walk-up songs are too. It's kind of a little trivia thing. I won't ask you all right now, but play your walk-up song 10 minutes before. Get up, move around, play the song. You know what? Emotion needs motion. I don't want you to get on that Zoom call or go into that interview all sweaty and like you just, ran 3 miles, but move around a little bit. Probably the worst thing you can do. All right. Probably the worst thing you can do is sit tightly without moving, stressing about the fact you can't blow this interview, and increasing your anxiety and increasing things to the point where you hop on an interview, you're really nervous and anxious. No, you know what? You've got this. You're a pro. They're interviewing you because they like you. They're interviewing you because they feel you can solve a problem. And the problem is they have a hole in their team right now. Okay. You're the pro. You've got this. You've been there. Put your walk-up song on, move around a little bit if you have to, then you hop on that call. Everybody with me? Say aye.
Aye.
All right. Somebody
Aye.
want to fire up? Somebody want to tell me their walk-up song real quick? I will give you extra credit if it's an 80s hair band.
Aren't they all?
They almost all are. Yeah, a lot of them are. A lot of them are. That's I don't know. That's when rock was the best. Of course, I'm a little bit biased. That's when I grew up. Okay, folks. Number one interview must do. You got to sell yourself every step of the way. Okay. A lot of people have taken Myers-Briggs. And so there's a lot of data points in the Myers-Briggs assessment, which I think to this day is still the gold standard, by the way. Half the United States is introverted. Half the United States is extroverted. And it's a spectrum. Some people are just a little bit on the I side. Some people are really far on the I side. If you're on the I side, okay, make sure you're showing in addition to telling. Put together the plan. Put together the professional portfolio. A lot of that stuff can help you sell. If you're on the E side, I recommend you do it also, but you've got to just be very, very aware of how long that you're speaking. Okay. All right. I'm done. If you have any questions, feel free to look us up at Ascend Career and Life Strategies. We have 9 offices in 8 states. We are still operating where we started at 48th and Pearl in Boulder. And I'm not here to sell anything, but if anybody does ever want our help in the future, we do offer a discount for BoulderNet people because we believe in what you're doing. We believe in the group, and I'm just really thankful to be a part of it. So thank you so much for having me today. If we have some time, I'd be happy to answer any questions for people. I'm going to stop my share right now, and it should bring up all the squares. Good. There's probably just as many as we had when I started. So that's always a good thing. But if anybody has any questions, I can take a couple of minutes here. I know we're at 10:31, but I'd be happy to answer them for you. Okay, Jerome, fire away.
Yeah. So, Don, how do you, my entire career, I've worked sort of internally focused roles. So a lot of stuff that would go into the brag book would be considered confidential or not highly confidential since it's years later. But how do you finesse that, into your brag book?
Don't go to jail on my behalf. Okay. Don't go to jail on my behalf. This comes up. A lot of people work for companies and there's proprietary information. I get that. If you have an employee review, you should be entitled to a copy of that. If you've taken some certifications, you can put those in the brag book. Even if you're doing some things outside of work, if you're volunteering and you won some awards or something of that nature, that could be brag book material. Copies of assessment tests. I have some in my brag book, and I've just highlighted a couple of key bullets that I think would help me in an interview situation. So those are just some things you can do without, showing proprietary information or things that might cross the line a little bit, but good question.